Everyone. Today's tutorial is about Malasana. How do we Malasana? With me, Debbie Patterson. So I'm going to take you through some warming exercises to get our hips nice and warm and open before we attempt Malasana or Garland pose. Malasana is a squatting position, and in the Western culture, we don't squat as often as we should. Squatting really helps to strengthen our thighs, our ankles, strengthens our abdominal muscles, and it also puts a little bit pressure on the abdominal muscles to improve the function of the colon, and this helps with elimination. So today we're going to start in an extended child's pose, working through warming exercises. Now, it would be helpful if you have a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, then if you have yoga hand blocks, that would help. And we'll work through giving you ideas on how you can use those props to allow yourself to come into Malasana. So let's get started. Just first of all, just check your space is clear and it's safe to work in. Now we're going to come into an extended child's pose. So taking your hips all the way back to your heels. So knees nice and wide, big toes touch, and hips come all the way back. Take your arms nice and long. Tuck in your chin and just rest your forehead down on the mat or the floor. Try and get your chin in close to your chest so that the hairline is down on the floor. This helps to stretch our upper back and neck too. This pose, extended child's pose, just really helps to open up those hips. The adductors in our inner thighs, stretches our thighs and around our knees, into our ankles and the tops of our feet, and across that lower back. So just taking one more breath here. Just allow that flow of breath to come in and out through your nose. Allow the breath to just fill the rib cage. And then we slowly roll ourselves up and come onto our back. So bring your legs forward and roll down your spine. Now take your legs nice and long, take your arms overhead and just come into a full body stretch. This just helps to stretch off the abdomen. And just try and create space in this area, reaching your fingertips away from your toes. 2 more breaths here, just finding that relaxation, maybe even closing your eyes. And then releasing the arms down by your side, bending your knees, walking your heels towards your buttocks. Tuck your tailbone under and just flatten your spine. Now just check you're in a neutral alignment with your spine, and that's your floating ribs level with your hip bones. Bringing awareness into your right leg. Draw your right knee in towards your chest. Just keep that left knee bent but active. Pressing the toes, your right toes back towards your shins. Just one breath here. And then taking your right ankle onto your left thigh. Pressing your right knee forward. So you might bring your right hand on your inner thigh. Stay away from your knee joint and just encourage that knee forward. Let your toes just draw back gently towards your shin and just check and make sure that that left ankle is underneath the knee. That just helps to create a stable base. One more breath here. So this posture is allowing the hips to open gently, that stretch down the inner thigh that we're going to need for coming into Malasana pose. Then we're coming into half baby. So take your right hand to the outside of your right foot and just kick the heel away from the buttocks. So your heel kicks up towards the ceiling and your knee bends just to the outside edge of your body. So we're holding in this position. I'm just going to turn and give you a side view. So you want that knee bending as close towards your armpit as you can. And then we slowly bring that right foot to floor, and let's do the other side. So hug the left knee in towards your chest, square off your hips. As we draw that left knee in, the hip might hitch up, and that creates shortness through that left side. So you want to drop that left hip down so we keep the balance. And then we bring that left ankle to the right thigh and guide the knee forward. So again, hands on your hips, just check that they're nice and level. Tummy is drawn in, pelvic floor is lifted and engaged. Left toes draw back towards the shin to keep the ankle, to keep integrity through the ankle and the knee. And then that happy baby pose, half happy baby. So we reach for the foot, bend the knee, and just keep that ankle just stacked over the knee with the toes drawing back towards the shins. Just try and relax your neck and shoulders. If you find that this is challenging to hold the foot, then wrap the arm round the back and just interlace your fingers. Just use a little bit of body weight from above to deepen the stretch. Now let's try full happy baby. So Ananda Balasana. We draw that right knee in, we take a hold of the foot, and we kick the heel up towards the ceiling. Keeping the neck nice and long so the chin's tucked in, the tailbone drops down towards the floor. And again, if it's a struggle, we can hold on to the ankles, or we can take the arms round the back, interlace, and then drop the tailbone down. Keep pressing out through the balls of your feet. 2 breaths here. Now we're just going to take a little external rotation of the hip joints. So we turn the toes out on the diagonal. And we notice how that then helps to open the hips up just a little bit, a little external rotation. And we drop the tailbone down. So this is like Malasana, but in a supta position. So we're supported. So see how your spine feels against that floor. Your chest is coming forward. Your shoulders are relaxing. And if we want to really feel it, we can take the hands away, bring hands to Anjali Mudra into the center of the chest, and just press elbows into the thighs. That way we're really lifting, engaging the lower abdominals. And elbows come in. Take a hold of the ankles, bring the soles of the feet together, and just press your knees out wide. So you can cup your feet here. Encourage the knees to fall out to the side. Gently relax your lower back down towards the floor. And we stay and breathe for 2 breaths. Then bring in the outer rims of the feet to the floor. Lift the tailbone, just adjust, and let the knees come out to the side. Now you can support underneath with your hands, or you can gently press from above to create a deeper stretch. So these are all lovely warming exercises to help mobilize our pelvis into our hip flexors. So yoga and our poses are not just about flexibility. It's about a combination, a balance of strength and flexibility. The strength helps support the joints and keep them in place. And our flexibility helps to lengthen through our muscles. Take your hands to your outer thighs, close your legs. Drop your knees to your right side and roll up to a seated position. So we're coming into that Barikadasana in an upright position that we did with our supine, with our spine supported by the floor. Feet are together, knees are out nice and wide, and hands can be on our ankles. We lift the center of our chest up, relax the shoulders down, draw the chin back, maybe close our eyes. Just allow that focus to come all the way down into our hips. As we breathe out, we try and soften and let the thighs roll out just a little bit more. We might start to bring our chest forward. This helps to deepen the stretch in the lower back, and it helps to help mobilize our hips more. Bringing the chest forward. Then lifting up. We're coming into a half frog pose. This is great for our digestive system. So we bring our weight forward and we bend in a half chaturanga to the floor. Stack the hands and draw your right knee up to hip height. Kick the heel so that the heel is stacked underneath the knee and the toes pull back to shins. Try and create balance through your hips here. So you're trying to aim for both hip bones down as close to the floor as possible. Now you might find that right hip bone is lifted slightly. So as you breathe out, every time you breathe out, try and encourage that right hip bone to come down closer to the floor. Tuck your chin in and just rest your head. Just breathe all the way down your spine, into your pelvis, into your hips. Now you can work on the strength in the groins by just gently pressing your right inner thigh down into the floor and maybe holding that with your belly brace, maybe holding that for 3, 2, 1, and release it. You'll feel the glute relaxing too. I'm going to do that 2 more times. So press down, engage for 3, for 2, for 1, and then release. And 1 more time, engage. So Pnf stretching, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, and release. This is used a lot in rehabilitation to strengthen, bring more strength back into the hips and the groins, and prevent any injuries. And then release. So this is really good for athletes. And we might just notice as we extend that right leg that the right leg may feel longer. So if we bring our big toes together, we might find that the right leg is maybe about 1/2 inch longer than that left leg. So we need to balance out the hips. So we now draw that left, we slide that left leg up. So we get the knee hip height, we flex the foot, and we take that ankle underneath the knee and we hold it here. And we just breathe into the space, trying to balance out the hips. Now what's great about yoga is that it just highlights any areas that we need to pay a bit more attention to. So noticing if one side feels a lot easier, then it tends to be that we're more flexible through that side. We're always going to have a more dominant side. But we just, every time we practice, we just try and bring more balance and symmetry to those areas. So let's try that Pnf. Engaging thigh into the floor for 3, for 2, for 1, And then gently release and feel the buttocks release too. And again, press down. 3, 2, and 1. And release. And one more time, press down. 3, 2, and 1. Fantastic. Let's release, extend that leg, bring the big toes together, and as by magic, our legs are the same length. Release. And bring the legs about hip distance apart. Push the pubic bone down, lift the navel high away from the floor, lift the head and bring the hands just under the shoulders. Hug the elbows into the rib cage, and you can stay low, just lifting your chest, just stretching the abdomen off, or we can push and lift up. Now you're pressing your hips down towards the floor and towards the top of your mat. Feel that deep stretch in your hip flexors and your abdomen. And these poses are wonderful for like footballers, hockey players, because you want to build strength in this area, strength and flexibility. Then we roll through our spine on the way back. Knees are nice and wide, big toes touch, hips go all the way back. But knowing this is especially good to try and work on a daily basis to get that flow of energy moving through our pelvis. Getting blood flow into this area. So wherever we have blood flow, we have healing. And we're going to try full frog. So with both legs. So we lift up, shift our weight forward, kick our heels apart and slide our knees wider. Okay, so go wider than your mat if you can. Just check, look back, ankles are directly under those knees, toes are drawn back to shins, and then we crawl down onto our elbows. Now we're going to feel this deep stretch. The more we pull our chest forward and crown forward, we're coming out of the stretch. But the more we press our hips back and walk our elbows in, we deepen that stretch. So hold it there and just focus on your breath. I'm going to show you side view too. So you don't want your knees any higher than your hips. So they're not coming up here and pressing back. Okay, you want the knees back a bit so we can come down. Now we want to tuck our tailbone under and lift our abdominals up so we're not dumping into the lower back, the lumbar part of the spine. We press our hips back. Now as you draw your toes back to shins, you actually lift the big toes off the floor a little bit. And you can play around with this. So as you come forward, you might be able to slide your legs further apart. And as you breathe out, you're pressing back and you're deepening that stretch right in your adductors, your hip flexors. Press the elbows into the floor so that we're not dumping into our shoulders. Drawing your hip bones round into the middle so we're activating the abdominals. If you feel that's too much, you come forward, slide the knees a little bit further apart, and then press your hip back. So this is wonderful for our digestive system. Just gets everything moving through the colon. One more breath here. This is one of my favorite poses. It's a great release in your hips, especially if you've had a day where you've been a bit more sedentary, you've been sitting more or driving a lot. These warm-up exercises to release your hips are excellent for everyone. Then slowly release. Bring your hands in, big toes touch, Slide your knees in and press your hips back. Now take your hands behind you, lift your chest, squeeze your shoulder blades in, and then just lift your hips away. So we feel this deep stretch down the thigh, abdomen, and into hips. Well done. Hips come back. Draw the knees together. Lunge your right foot between your hands. Now, if you have hand blocks, you can use them. So right foot comes through, ankle is under knee, and you take your left knee and you slide it back. Shoulders are back and down. And as you breathe out, just drop your hips. Feel that beautiful stretch right down your hip flexor, right into the psoas muscle. You might just close your eyes and just be with your breath. And then take your right hand inside. Now, you don't need to use blocks. You might be down here. Then you're going to roll to the outer rim of that right foot. And just let the knee fall out to the side. So you're pressing out through the ball of the foot. That's just to keep the ankle square and safe. Upper arms squeeze in. And then you might just mobilize forward and back a little bit. Now what this does is just warm up the fascia against the bone, and it helps you to go a little bit deeper into your poses, into your hips. And then we bring that foot to the floor and we squeeze it in to the shoulder. So this is Pnf again. So we squeeze in for 3, 2, 1, and then we release it. Go again, squeeze in, 3, 2, lift the belly, 1, and then release. One more time, squeeze in, 3, 2, 1, and then step it back into extended child's pose. Hips back, chin tucks in, forehead down. And let's do the other side. We lift up, lunging that left foot through. So we might have the blocks, we might not. Left hand comes inside. And then we roll. So take your foot slightly on the angle and roll to the outer rim of the foot. And then just play around with it a little bit. Remember to press out through the ball of the foot to keep that ankle safe. And these stretches really help to release any lower back pain that you might have, but also helps prevent all that. So if we do those poses, these poses, then we're going to prevent lower backache. And then bring the foot down, squeeze the knee into the arm for 3, for 2, for 1, release, and come again, squeeze. So working that strength, 2, 1, and then release. One more time, squeeze in, 3, 2, 1. Well done, step it back. Extend your child's pose. Arms nice and long. Feel that release in your lower back. And then lifting up, coming onto your sit bones. Bring your legs round. And you want them so that your knees are bent and your toes are pointing forward and you're right on your sit bones. Now just take your arms underneath, interlace your fingers or bring palms together, whatever works flexibility wise for you. Lift your chest, and as you exhale, bring it through between your thighs. Now squeeze your knees in. Your spine is staying nice and straight. Your tummy is drawn in. And then we release. Lift the toes off the floor and take the hands, so the arms come inside the thighs, and we take the hands to the outer rims of the feet. Again, we lift the chest, might take them a little bit wider, lift the chest and bring your chest through. So this is like our happy baby pose, but in an upright position. Now we can release, bring the hands in and squeeze the thighs into the arms and resist back for 3, for 2, for 1, and then release. Take the knees out a bit. Do that one more time. So we press 3, 2, 1. Now release. So come into a cross-legged position. We're now going to work in using our props to come into Malasana, our Hindi squat. So if you have a bolster, you can bring that in. And to come into Malasana, we would step over the bolster. Take your feet, so your heels are in, your toes are out. Hands will come to the chest, so take a big breath in, reach up and bring the hands down in Anjali Mudra. And then we bend our knees and we squat and we go all the way down, bringing our tailbone down. Elbows hook in, thumbs hook into the breastbone. We take a big breath in and we might just stay here. So checking your heels are in line, your toes are out to the side. So Malasana, it's important that we keep our feet flat on the floor. Often what I see in Malasana is people coming into Malasana, because they can't get their heels down, they lift their heels up and they're balancing here. So what you then do is put pressure on the ankles. That then kicks the knees out. So the feet need to be down on the floor. So if that means sitting higher as you work the strength and flexibility, then that's where you need to go before you can drop your hips down between your heels without any support or props. So you might be on your bolster working that, building the strength. You're bringing the floor to you. The feet are on the floor to ground and help this posture because you're working against gravity. Okay, so you want to feel, but we want to engage the pelvic floor. If we don't have a bolster, then we can use our blocks. Bring our blocks together and we would start, there's 3 settings, so we'd start on the highest setting. So we'd inhale, lift. As we exhale, we bend. And we would stack those blocks at our sit bones and then adjust our feet. So you want your ankles directly under your knees. Hands are at the chest, elbows hook into the inner thighs. You're pressing the inner thighs into the elbows and resisting back. Thumbs are into the chest is forward, belly is braced, pelvic floor is lifted. So we're totally engaging all the muscles here in the body, relaxing the neck. We might stay and work this. And then after we feel comfortable in this position, we lift the tailbone and we might go down to setting 2. So it's lower. It's a little bit more challenging. Elbows hook in, you resist back. So you've got that Pnf stretching going on, that strengthening work in the hips. With Malasana, you're strengthening from the ankles all the way up. And because you're lifting through your pelvic floor, you're strengthening those abdominal muscles too. So we would stay and we want to have that nice, tall, long spine. So from the tailbone all the way up to the crown of the head. Like we're being supported by the floor. And then, once we feel that that's comfortable, we might lift the tailbone up and just come to one block where it's flat on the floor. And we drop down, pressing in, elbows into inner thighs. And just help some mobility and strength through our ankles. And just hold. until we can then lift the tailbone off and do Malasana without any support and props. Engaging, grounding, tummy lifts. And then pushing through the feet, using the strength in your legs without any assistance to lift up. Turn your toes forward and then fold into a forward fold, tucking in your chin. So if you feel the problem is not getting your heels down on the floor, and that your hips might be quite flexible, but you might be tight in your ankles, tight in your calves, your Achilles, then what you can also do is you can try it with heels on. So we might not have been wearing heels. So if you're a female, if you're a male, you might want to do this too. But we use the heels because they're elevated and they lift us up. So heels in, toes out, and then we just bend the knees and squat down. That way, our feet, the heels are lifted. We're actually bringing the floor closer to us, and then we drop the hips down. So it's another good way to practice it with heels on to help lower down, but you're not too low, because with the heels, the hips aren't going down too low. They're elevated slightly away from the floor. So it just helps you work in to that feeling of getting your feet flat and supported and your hips low. So taking one breath in that position, and then pressing through the feet and lifting up. Arms wide and high, hands come to the chest, toes point forward, and we take a fold, bringing fingertips to floor. And bending your knees, keeping your head low because you've been in an inversion. Lift up and roll down through your spine. So we want to close off our hips now. Rolling down, drawing knees into chest. Bringing feet to floor and taking your right leg and crossing it over your left thigh, squaring off your hips. Arms come nice and wide, and we take the knees down to the left side. So you want to be able to maintain both shoulder blades down on the floor. Squeezing your inner thighs in. Just feeling that release through your spine and also through your lower back and into your hips. Drawing the knees back up, untangle the legs and bring the left leg over the right one. Drop the knees down to the right side, maintaining both shoulder blades down into the floor. If you find that your left shoulder blade is lifting, then lift your knees off more and just press your feet down to support you. Or if you have your bolster, you can use your bolster to support that knee. Or your block. And then rolling onto your right side, tuck your chin in, lift yourself up. Come into a cross-legged position, whichever leg feels more comfortable in front. Relaxing your shoulders, just shifting your breath from your ribs back into your belly. Inhaling, arms wide and high, palms touch. Bring the thumbs to the third eye and elbows close. Bowing forward, namaste, and rising. Bring your hands to the center of your chest. Let's be grateful for our shared tutorial today. And knowing that it's going to be here, that you can tap into this tutorial at any time that you need it. And just blink your eyes open. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial today. Any questions that you might have, then either comment in the link below. And please like if you enjoyed and found the information useful. Have a great day. Namaste.